Welcome to Developmental Psychology. This is a really exciting book for me. I mostly study adolescents, so I'll certainly have a lot to say when we get to them. But there'll be several slides also throughout all of the chapters where I may not have any narration, but I'll leave the slide in if I feel that the information is good and clear and you don't need additional detail. You can also use your book to supplement the slides. Reading the book, the slides tend to go in the same general order of your reading, so these slides will hopefully just kind of expand on those ideas and maybe clarify something that you might not have understood in the readings. So in psychology, we use the scientific method. There are 5 basic steps to the scientific method. You've probably already heard about them and learned them through other science courses that you've taken throughout your life, starting probably in elementary school. But you start with a curiosity. So what is this? What am I interested in? And then something kind of catches your eye. So then you do some research and you pose a research question based on theory that you have, a prior research that you've done, a personal observation. Generally, we use that prior research as a good jumping off point. Once I have a question, okay, what does prior research show? So that I'm not duplicating work, or I, make sure you have a novel question, something that hasn't been done prior. So then you develop a hypothesis, which is testable. So basically, you come up with a specific prediction. I think by doing this research, this is what I will find. So now you can set up your study to test that hypothesis. So you design and conduct the research to gather your data. So you'll, whether that is interviewing people, using secondary data that someone has already collected, that has that could potentially hold the answers to the question that you're asking. So then you draw conclusions from that data. You use that evidence to either support or refute the hypothesis. Yes, I did in fact find the answer to the question that I asked. Sometimes you find things you didn't expect to find. Sometimes you find nothing at all. This didn't actually have anything to do with, it did not actually support my hypothesis. Then you report the results. This is usually in the form of writing a paper or maybe doing a poster and presenting your information at a conference to a group of people through the paper and the peer review process, whatever that looks like for you. So you share the data and the conclusions, as well as we try to provide alternative explanations in case maybe what I found was an accident. Here's some other ways that maybe we can test it going forward to confirm if this is a true finding or not. Here's just an example of this scientific method in action. So, are children too overweight would be a research question. You've kind of gotten a curiosity about that. You're looking at other research maybe. And so you've heard that obese adults are likely to die of heart attacks and strokes. So then you think, okay, here's my hypothesis. I think if you're overweight as a child, this may then impair your adult health. So that's your hypothesis. So then you need to test that hypothesis. So you develop your research study and you study the health of adults based on this would be like a longitudinal study. So you're going to have to study children first and then kind of track their progress over time. And then you're going to draw conclusions from that. So your conclusion in this study would be that overweight and obese children are indeed at risk for health complications. So then you're going to need to report those results out. So multiple research findings are published. You can publish in journal articles. You can publish, like I said, through a poster, whatever that process is. And same thing, here's just another kind of example showing that with the overweight children who become normal weight adults, because obviously not all overweight children are going to have health problems down the road. They're not all going to be overweight. So you kind of have multiple ways to assess kind of the same outcome. So this chart just kind of goes into more detail about that. This is maybe how they presented their results. Basically, more than half of all adults in the United States are overweight. So this chart shows only 21% of adults are obese, which may seem wrong for us. We don't have that example because we think, oh, there's more than half, so why are only 21%? But 3 facts explain why this data is accurate. Obese is much heavier than overweight. The average adult in this study was 34 years old. Middle age and older adults are more often obese. And one of the studies that provided much of the longitudinal data was in Finland, where rates of obesity are lower in the United States. So these are certainly alternative explanations that can show why they found what they found. And obviously they didn't sample every single adult in the entire United States for this study. So this is certainly an average based on a population. So nature and nurture. So where nature is, of course, the biology in our body, so the influence of our genes and our genetic makeup. Nurture is these environmental influences that affect our development. Really anything in the environment can affect how we turn out. This can come from the health and diet of our mother, both physical and mental health while she was pregnant. This can come from family influences, how we interact in our family, school influences, peers, community, societal rules and expectations. Really anything. We can go as minute as maybe, the air that we're breathing in, pollution, different things. All these things are affecting how we're developing in the long run. Epigenetics, that's pretty explanatory. Differential susceptibility, so how we turn out differently, even if we have the same genes as another person. So they study this through a lot of twin studies. So if I have an identical twin, and so we share 100% of our genes, how does one of us turn out this way and the other one turn out this way? What environmental influences? We have the same genetic makeup, so we should be the same, but one of us, turned out a certain way and the other turned out a different way. How the heck did we get there? And that's what differential susceptibility looks like. How the environment, how did I perceive my environment? What experiences did I have that were different from this other person, etc. So this is just kind of a general age range for the different age stages that we're going to look at in the book. You'll even see here, emerging adulthood says 18 to 25 years. Even just in the last couple of years, they're now saying this may be more like 18 to 29 years. So it's really tricky to say definitively this only happens from age 1 to 2. It's hard to say that because there's not just a hard and fast rule for when we change and how we shift over time. We don't just wake up at 2 years old and start acting differently. Things kind of happen gradually, they happen over time, and we'll certainly look at that throughout all of the chapters in the book. So development is multi-directional. We change constantly. Well, I would like to think that it's this nice linear change that we're experiencing, but you'll see, I think we have a nice image on the next slide. You kind of see the pattern of developmental growth is not this perfect process. So let's look at that. You can see here, this is basically life and how we grow. So in some ways we physically grow taller. In some ways we start to decline, particularly our cognitive abilities kind of decline over time. We get a little bit slower as we get older. We're not able to take in things as fast after a certain age. There are certainly things that may happen. Maybe we have an experience in life where we get this maybe unpredictable growth, where we're experiencing growth, but then we experience a setback for a while. And this is really just life. It's rarely ever this perfect linear upward pattern that we have. Almost no aspect of human change follows that linear pattern exactly. We certainly hit stages, we certainly hit life experiences. So many things kind of shift and change over time.